lowers our risk profile, attracts more investment, and reduces borrowing costs for both government and the private sector. Fellow citizens, our foreign direct investment has more than tripled from US dollars 463, or about 60 billion shillings in 2021, to US dollars 1.5 billion, almost 195 billion Kenya shillings in 2024. In the last 36 months, over 300 new businesses, including 500 foreign companies, have registered and set up shop in Kenya, reflecting renewed confidence and improved ease of doing business. The Nairobi Securities Exchange has recorded a powerful resurgence, now recognized as one of the best performing emerging markets globally. Since January 2025, investor wealth has grown by over 1 trillion shillings, driven by a broad share price rally that has re-established the Nairobi Securities Exchange as a premier asset class. The NSE is on track for its strongest performance in over a decade, building on last year's remarkable gains. This renewed vibrancy is a clear vote of confidence in Kenya's direction and in the reforms we have undertaken. In short, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the world's most respected economic assessors and market sentiment are affirming that what we already know, that our economy is strengthening, our prospects are brightening, and confidence in Kenya is rising. Our critics, the high priests of eternal pessimism, who criticize without responsibility and tear down without offering alternatives, will want you to believe that our economy is going in the wrong direction. But while everyone may speak their mind, and that is the beauty of our democracy, no one is entitled to manufacture self-serving falsehoods and traffic them as facts. And facts are exactly what I present here today: clear, verifiable, and indisputable. Mr. Speaker, one of the greatest contributors to the high cost of living is the cost of food. Kenyans in 2022 marched with empty sufurias as stark symbol of frustration and unbearable cost of basic commodities. From the very outset, we made an intentional and strategic decision to subsidize production and not consumption. We understood that lasting relief would not come from temporary subsidies and price controls, but from strengthening the foundations of agricultural production. We also recognized that agriculture is not merely another sector of our economy. It is the lifeline of our nation. If we were to secure households, stabilize prices, create jobs, expand industry, and spur exports, agriculture had to be the fulcrum of our transformational agenda. To organize the sector and improve service delivery, we launched an integrated digital platform to register farmers. In 2022, fewer than 300,000 farmers were on record. Today, over 7.1 million farmers are registered on the Kenya Integrated Agricultural Management Information System, giving us visibility to design scientific targeted interventions and eliminate extortionists, getaway brokers, and drive out cartels and middlemen. This has enabled us to implement the fertilizer subsidy program at scale. To date, over 21 million bags of affordable fertilizer have been distributed, reducing the price by nearly 2/3 and saving farmers Kenya shillings 105 billion so far. This year alone, we delivered 7 million bags of fertilizer and 35 million kilos of certified seed. And next year in 2026, we plan to distribute 12.5 million bags across all the 1,450 wards, ensuring every farmer has access to affordable inputs. The impact has been phenomenal. Productivity in all our agricultural sectors has gone up. National maize harvests have risen from 44 million bags in 2022 to 67 million bags in 2024, setting the stage for a historic harvest this year of 70 million bags. The results are visible in markets and homes. The price of a 2-kilogram packet of flour has fallen from what it was 250 in 2022 to as low as 130 today. For millions of households, this is meaningful daily relief. The transformation across our value chains is equally compelling. Tea production has grown, with earnings rising from Kenya shillings 138 billion in 2022 to Kenya shillings 215 billion in 2024, a 56% increase. The coffee sector, once on the brink of collapse, is roaring back. Nearly 50,000 seedlings have been distributed. Earnings have risen from an average of Kenya shillings 70 per kilo to now between 120 and 150 shillings per kilo. We are on track to increase exports from 48,000 metric tons to 60,000 metric tons this year, and projected to reach 150 million tons in 3 years' time. Edible oils acreage under production expanded by 90% between 2022 and April 2025, cutting the edible oil import bill by 17 billion in 1 year. By 2027, we aim to halve this bill, saving Kenya nearly 60 billion in foreign exchange. Cotton production has nearly tripled. Cashew nut yields have grown following the distribution of 900,000 seedlings, and so has coconut output after the provision of 1 million seedlings. The sugar sector, long troubled, is now stabilizing. Area under cane is up by 200,000 acres. Production has surged 76% to over 815,000 metric tons. Imports are down 70%. To secure this process, we have leased Nzoia, Mohoroni, Soni, and Chemelil factories to competent private sector operators. Our livestock value chain is rising. Leather exports are up 56% to Kenya shillings 2.5 billion. Local shoe production now exceeds 11 million pairs, and meat exports have grown 45% to 12.5 billion. In dairy, milk production has surged to 5.3 billion liters, while exports have nearly doubled to 9.4 billion. Dairy farmers' support has enhanced with the installation of 230 new milk coolers. Nearly 8 million animals have been vaccinated, and Kevevapi has produced a record 94 million vaccine doses, which are used locally and also exported to our neighbors in the region. We have reduced the cost of semen from 8,000 shillings per dose to 1,000 for our dairy farmers. The outcome of these reforms is unmistakable. We have enhanced food security, raised farmer incomes, driven agro-industrialization, and expanded Kenya's export footprint. This is the transformation we promised, now unfolding across our nation, fulfilling the national values and principles of governance, particularly sustainable development, as required under Article 10 of our Constitution. It is in accordance with this constitutional duty that I report to this House today. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, let me now turn to healthcare, the foundation of human dignity and the heartbeat of every nation that chooses compassion over neglect. Over the last 3 years, we have undertaken the most ambitious transformation of health systems since independence. Reforms rooted in equity, powered by innovation, and guided by a simple conviction that every Kenyan, wherever they live and whatever their means, deserves equal care. 27 million Kenyans are now registered in SHA, more than triple the number ever reached by the former NHIF. This is a demonstration that leaving no one behind was and is not a slogan. It is a promise on course to fulfillment. Additionally, more than 10,000 health facilities across the country have signed in to serve under this new system. But honorable members, real health care begins long before patients reach a hospital. That is why in September 2023, we deployed 107,000 community health promoters, the largest primary health workforce in our history, trained, equipped, and present in every ward in all our 47 counties. Their impact has been extraordinary. Consider 3 statistics. 8.9 million households have so far been visited. 9.9 million diabetes screenings have been done with 134,000 cases diagnosed. 6.5 million hypertension screenings have been conducted with 305,000 cases confirmed. Millions of lives have been touched and thousands saved. This is what equity looks like. This is the meaning of universal health care. This is leaving no Kenyan behind indeed. Behind these numbers stand the community health promoters, quiet, devoted, tireless, heroes of this new era. Today, we honor them. We thank them. To them, we say Kenya is healthier because of you. Mr. Speaker, when I promised that those unable to pay would be supported by government under UHC, the cynics scoffed as usual. Today, we are paying premiums for 2.3 million vulnerable Kenyans, including orphans, widows, the elderly, and those without income, because for them, healthcare is not a privilege. And I must commend members of this august House who have stepped in to support vulnerable families in this gesture. We are also modernizing hospital equipment through the National Equipment Service Project, replacing the old MES model that burdened counties with heavy upfront costs. Under the new fee-for-service system, private partners install, maintain, and run state-of-the-art equipment, and public facilities pay only when they use them. We have overhauled KEMSA to end the chronic crisis of drug shortages, raising medicine availability from 48% to 68%, and to a projected 90% by the end of this year and 100% by March next year. This is more than healthcare reform. It is a long-deferred promise, finally taking shape. A Kenya where every citizen can face tomorrow with confidence, knowing their nation will stand with them in their hour of need. It fulfills our national values and of dignity and equity as stated in Article 10 of the Constitution. In the same spirit, the government is strengthening financial protection for Kenyans under cancer treatment. Social Health Authority will enhance the cancer benefits package from the current 550,000 shillings to Kenya shillings 800,000, effective December 1. This enhancement responds to the rising cost of sustained cancer care and ensures that patients can access quality, uninterrupted treatment without facing financial hardship. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, when I assumed office, our education sector was in distress with a strained CBC transition, a chronic teacher deficit, universities on the edge of insolvency, and overstretched infrastructure. We moved quickly to restore education as the great equalizer. Through the student-centered funding model, scholarships and loans now follow need and merit, placing the learner at the center. Nearly 500,000 students have already benefited from this model. We then tackled the teacher crisis head-on. We have hired, as you all know, 76,000 teachers with 24,000 more to be brought in by January next year. That will translate to 100,000 teachers in 3 years, an achievement unmatched in the history of our country. Together with the national government CDF, we have delivered 23,000 new classrooms and 1,600 laboratories are under construction, easing congestion and giving CBC the dignified facilities it requires. TVET has become the engine of practical skills. Enrollment has leaped from 341,000 in 2022 to 718,000 as young Kenyans embrace engineering, ICT, modern agriculture, hospitality, design, and the trades that power a modern economy. In strengthening education at every level, we are giving life to the national values in Article 10, especially equity, human dignity, and sustainable development, ensuring every child has a fair chance to rise. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, 3 years ago when we said we would deliver affordable housing, the cynics dismissed it. They said it was fantasy. When they realized we were serious, they called it impossible. And when we broke ground across the country, they suggested that these projects would stall. Today, those doubts have given way to a very different question from Kenyans everywhere. How do I own one of these units? That is now the question. Across the country, we are delivering the most extensive housing rollout in Kenya's history. 230,000 affordable homes. And we meet student needs. 178,000 beds have been packaged for universities, TVETs, KMTCs, with 74,000 already under construction, transforming a sector where fewer than 10% once had decent accommodation. Additionally, 270 modern markets are taking shape nationwide, providing vital spaces for women and MSMEs, with another 175 underway, expanding the backbone of local commerce. And through the Nairobi River Regeneration Program, 44,000 young people are restoring the river corridor and preparing sites for 10,000 social homes along the renewed riverfront. The program, the housing program, including markets and hostels, has created over 428,000 jobs. Jobs that include architects, engineers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, masons, steel workers, transporters, and thousands of MSMEs in fittings, fabrication, and interior design work. At peak next year, it will employ at least 1 million Kenyans. Honorable members, this program is far more than housing. It is a national empowerment engine, creating jobs, formalizing the informal sector, revitalizing micro, small, and medium enterprises, restoring our environment, and building resilient communities. It advances equity, dignity, and sustainable development, the very values anchored in Article 10 of our Constitution. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, allow me to turn to a sector that carries the hopes of nearly every Kenyan family, our micro, small, and medium enterprises. MSMEs are the backbone of our economy, the engine room of innovation, and the daily hustle of more than 15 million Kenyans. For decades, access to affordable credit trapped millions in frustration. Without collateral, there was no loans. For the millions blacklisted, every door of opportunity was shut. And when banks refused to take a chance, their dreams simply stalled. As promised, we broke that cycle. The Financial Inclusion Fund, the Hustler Fund, now stands as the largest financial inclusion program since independence, extending over 80 billion shillings to 7 million Kenyans. And those who were blacklisted, the 7 million once blacklisted Kenyans, have since repaired their credits. 3 million small businesses and their owners, previously locked out of the formal finance, are now banked. And 2 million Kenyans are now frequent borrowers. Today, through the Hustler Fund Bridge Facility, 800,000 entrepreneurs are accessing up to 150,000 shillings each without collateral to expand and grow their businesses. But honorable members, credit alone is not enough. Many young people do not lack ideas, they lack opportunity. That is why we launched Nyota, the National Youth Opportunities and Transformation Agenda, one of the most ambitious youth empowerment programs in our history. Over the next 5 years, Nyota will uplift 820,000 unemployed young people through apprenticeship, recognition of prior learning, entrepreneurship grants, digital skills training, and support savings. When the program is fully implemented, it will have placed 90,000 young people into work or enterprise, certified 20,000 into different skill areas, capitalized 110,000 businesses, and matched savings for 190,000 savers, while building capacity of 600,000 more to undertake government procurement under the ACBO program. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 3 years, our digital transformation agenda has become one of the most powerful engines of renewal. A quiet revolution changing how Kenyans live, how they work, learn, or do business. We have expanded the fiber optic by 24,000 kilometers and moved from 0 public Wi-Fi hotspots in 2022 to nearly 1,500 today, connecting communities once left behind. We have set up 300 digital innovation hubs with 400 in the pipeline, gateways where ideas grow and enterprises begin. At the heart of this shift is digital government. From less than 400 services on eCitizen to 22,500, we have delivered one of the fastest digital migration in the world. Access is easier, efficiency higher, leakages sealed, and corruption pushed out. And as our young people are driving it, nearly 2 million have been trained in digital skills, and 300,000 now earn a living online through Adrress, Jitume, and our expanding business process outsourcing sector. Mr. Speaker, having set out the work of the last 3 years, it would be easy, almost comfortable, to pause, congratulate ourselves, and settle into the warmth of modest progress. But comfort is how nations stall. It is how Kenya once slowed while the Asian tigers raced ahead. We cannot allow that. We will not allow that. And we must not allow it. Because this moment demands more of us. More courage, more ambition, and a refusal to settle for the ordinary. As I said earlier, we often speak of the Asian tigers with a reference that makes their rise seem like a miracle from a distant world. We marvel at how they journeyed from poverty to industrial powerhouses, from aid recipients to exporters of world-class goods. And we ask, what secret advantage did they have? History answers us plainly. They had none. Their rise was not magic. It was intentional and crafted through leadership, discipline, strategic investment, and uncompromising rejection of mediocrity. Their stories begin in ruins. The example of post-war Japan, with barely 2,000 kilometers of paved road, and South Korea, whose GDP per capita was nearly identical to Kenya's at independence. Today, Japan commands over 1.1 million kilometers of paved roads, while Kenya has 22,000, 62 years after independence. South Korea's GDP per capita now exceeds 36,000 US dollars, compared to our own 2,200 US dollars. These comparisons are not meant to indict us, but to demonstrate what becomes possible when a nation chooses ambition over resignation. From their journeys, clear lessons emerge. These nations set aside small dreams and integrated boldly with global markets. They built first world infrastructure in what was third world environments. They invested obsessively in their people, the engineers, scientists, innovators, and technicians who powered their ascent. They generated electricity from all sources available to power their enterprise, innovation that led to manufacturing, industrialization, and progress. They simplified investment through institutional reforms that allowed capital, technology, and talent to progress without friction. They prioritized production by planning their industries long before those industries emerged. Critically, they nurtured ecosystems of relentless innovation, giving rise to global giants like Samsung, Hyundai, Toyota, and Sony, companies that began modestly and grew to define modern history. The task before us, therefore, is unmistakably clear. If Kenya is to grow at scale, we must raise our ambition. It is for this reason, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, that under my leadership, we are raising the bar of national ambition. And that is why I am today submitting a roadmap to take Kenya to the next level. We are committing to undertake a minimum of 4 major national priorities whose rationale I shall explain. First, we must invest relentlessly in our people, in their education, skills development, scientific training, and innovation capacity. We have already set the foundation through the major reforms in the education sector. We have increased the education budget from 490 billion in 2021 to over 700 billion this year, which has facilitated better infrastructure in our education system, more teachers and trainers, and enhanced funding for our colleges and universities. I have reorganized government departments to establish a dedicated State Department for Science, Research, and Innovation to support the urgent need to scale up STEM courses in our education system, strengthen innovation, promote research, and create a pool of high-level professionals in engineering and science. This structure will also help actualize the 2% research fund needed to make this ambition a reality. We must fund startups and deliberately scale up and commercialize innovation to create new companies. We must actualize We must actualize the National Research Fund, moving from the current 0.8% of GDP to 2% of GDP. This leaves us with a shortfall today of 180 billion. Progressively, we should grow the fund to 1 trillion over the next 10 years. We will mobilize domestic public resources, private investment, venture capital, and other private sector financing to drive this effort, because no nation rises above the abilities of its citizens. Let me repeat that. Gentlemen and ladies, no nation rises above the abilities of its citizens. And we must promote a culture of enterprise so that Kenyan companies can cross borders. The example of Safaricom's M-Pesa, growing from a local solution into a global financial platform, serving more than 70 million customers in 170 countries today. This demonstrates the possibilities we can unlock. Secondly, we must turn around our economy from a net importer to a net exporter of products, goods, and services. The most urgent being imports of food products that cost us 500 billion shillings every year. Just imagine. We are importing maize, wheat, rice, edible oil, to Kenya at a cost of 500 billion shillings every year. As I mentioned earlier, we have already made interventions to reduce imports of maize, sugar, edible oils, rice, wheat, but our efforts are undermined by the natural limits of rain-fed agriculture. We can no longer allow the clouds to determine whether our people eat or not. We are able to produce enough for domestic consumption and exports. Expanded modern irrigation is now necessity and the only path forward. We are endowed, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, with arable land, yet we all know only 15% of Kenya can support rain-fed agriculture. And this limited area is what we have relied on to feed the entire nation.